Hiya, I am the Anti-Fitness Trainer and I'm here with Estelle from the Wholesome Lifestyle Project. Here today we're going to talk about binge eating and emotional overeating. So, Estelle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. So thank you so much for having me, Dominique. It's
No
so
worries.
nice to chat to everyone here. So my name's Stell or Estelle, depending on how you want to call me, but my friends call me Stell. I'm a South African living in Melbourne, and I've been here for about 4 years now. I'm a dog mom, and I've been married for about 13 years. I think is this year. And yeah, I just come from a background in IT, actually, to be honest. I was a business analyst for a good 12 years. And yeah, just recently moved into the health and fitness space where my passion lies. And yeah, I help women stop binge and emotional eating. So I know that sounds like a lot and it sounds scary. So we'll delve a little bit more into what that means and everything as we go on in the chat. So,
Definitely. Although I have a question to begin with. How the hell do you go from business IT analyst to health and fitness space? Surely there's a story
well,
behind that.
well, there is. Like for me, so my longer story is that I was in 13 years ago. I was in a space where I was heavily overweight. I was completely unhealthy. I was working 15 hours a day, and I wasn't eating during the day at all. I was smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, and that kept me going through the day. And then at nighttime, I would start binge eating. And some nights I'll eat a full chicken by myself and, topped with some potatoes and at least one bottle of wine to myself as well,
Yeah,
So, so that's basically where I came from. And I decided I needed a change. And so I started bringing in healthy habits. So I quit smoking, I picked up running and all those things. So I built this real passion for just having a healthy lifestyle, and basically through that I really became passionate, especially about being fit, being healthy. And I found that working in IT is it is satisfying. I do love it, but for me my passion and really lies in helping others. And at the time I didn't know where I wanted to help people, but I just knew I needed to make a change. So in
absolutely.
2015, I had a blood clot on my brain. And,
Wow.
yeah, that was just like a pivotal point in my life where I decided, well, there's more to life than just
Yeah,
where I am. And
definitely.
there's
So that was like
more.
the catalyst.
That was the catalyst. Yeah, like a near-death experience really puts things into perspective. And that's where I decided that, first of all, like sitting at a desk all day was not serving my body. I was like, I constantly had migraines and lower back issues from constant desk work. And I wanted to be in a space where I can, fill my passion, but also add value to the world. And that's kind of how I went from business analyst to binge eating specialist.
Definitely. And like you said, where modern society is built around you go to work, you do your 9 to 5 job, and it's all about how little you can restrict yourself whilst doing as much work as you humanly can. And then no one sees what happens behind closed doors when you go home. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, correct. So I think companies have come a very long way, and definitely the occupational health standards in Australia is a lot more stringent than they are in, South Africa. So there's a lot more places where they do look after their staff. But yeah, like if you're not aware that you need to, like we've talked about this last week about, moving your body during the day and just, not just sitting, making sure that you stand and sit, or, go and take a walk during the lunch break. If you don't know these things, but you end up with so many injuries, especially in the spine, then like, you know, like if someone doesn't tell you this is why you're doing it, or this is why you have these injuries, then you will never know, I guess, you know. So that's why we're here, to bring awareness to those kind of things, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think we're in a space of everything being overcomplicated, where, like you said, it could be just as easy as getting up out of your office chair and going for a walk. So how do you know how prevalent sort of emotional overeating is with people?
Well, currently, with everything going on in the world, especially when COVID-19 hits, it was extremely prevalent. You heard everyone complaining that, you know, now they're working from home, they don't have as much discipline, and they just find themselves eating all the time. However, it wasn't really the discipline that was the issue. It was actually the fact that they were looking for comfort. We were all in this fear-based situation, driven by the unknown, the uncertainty. Our whole worlds have been, you know, kind of tumbled upside down. All of a sudden, we have all these additional responsibilities, or working in a new environment. And that's, like, from a psychological perspective and an energetic perspective, that's extremely uprooting for anyone. So almost every single person I've talked to has either sent me a meme where they're rolling out of COVID, out of lockdown, you know, like, or, you know, like they're all trying to make light of the fact that they are eating a lot more. So yeah, definitely it is quite a prominent thing. Emotional eating is very common to everyone. Everyone emotionally eats every now and then. We can see that at birthday parties when we celebrate, or you can see that when people are working on a project and things are getting to a deadline, they'll start stress eating. And, you know, that is kind of normal. We've been taught as babies, like the first things our parents would check when we cried was whether you're hungry. And we didn't know at the time what was going on. We might be feeling an emotion that we couldn't express, but all of a sudden we've been offered this milk. It's nice and comforting, and we forget about whatever we were feeling. So since we were babies, we were kind of taught that food can actually, or eating is actually quite soothing, and it can help us feel better or distract us from what's going on.
Yeah, I think childhood and adults just trying to do their best have definitely got a lot to answer for. Because it always comes from a place of love, always. But yeah, I'm not sure it always serves us.
Well, I mean, like, what else do you do as a parent? You know, first you'll check whether the child's hungry, and then you'll check maybe the nappy, and and then hopefully those two things will work to help soothe them, you know, and holding them. So those are the three strategies that parents usually go for. But as a baby, parents are so worried that, you must be hungry. I need to make sure that they get to certain measurements, or, you know, so they're not underweight and unhealthy.
Absolutely.
So the food is obviously the first strategy they'll try, and out of love, 100%. There's nothing wrong with that at all, you know, like
and it carries on through childhood as well. It's the first thing that we do to praise our kids, and to punish our kids is, you know, there's no dessert tonight. So yeah, it's no wonder people still use food massively as a strategy.
Yeah. Well, even it's as a reward. If you finish this plate of food, you can have a dessert, or you can have a lolly.
Exactly. So what sort of strategies do you give for adults who have found themselves in this whole overeating, emotional eating pattern?
Yeah, so you know what, it's kind of difficult. I think you first need to kind of understand that you are emotionally eating. So you need to kind of start checking in whether your body is actually hungry, first of all. So that's normally the first check we do when we find ourselves eating. And second of all, start recognizing the difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger. So physical hunger will come on gradually. You know, it's not very urgent. It can wait a couple of moments. It doesn't feel like the world's going to end if you don't have that Snickers bar right here and now.
Yeah.
You might feel a little bit of growling in the stomach, maybe a little bit of saliva, those kind of things. Whereas emotional eating will come out all of a sudden, and it will be for something so specific, and it will be so urgent. And this is where I talk about it moving into an urge. It's that urge to drive you to eat. And that's where your brain will start giving you these excuses of why it's a good idea to eat something. And it's normally like, you've worked so hard, you deserve a treat, or, you know, like, how are you going to make it through the rest of the day without that cookie? Or might as well have a second cookie because, you know, you never know when you're going to get another chance to eat a cookie because you're on this diet or whatever. So it's very specific, very urgent, and it's something that you just have to have in that moment. It's quite impulsive as well. So first, recognizing the differences between those so that we can obviously nourish ourselves differently for each scenario.
And I suppose that'll feel different individually for each of us as well. The difference between hungers.
Yeah, correct. You know, so some people might just feel a little bit agitated, whereas other people will just like act very impulsively and, you know, run straight to the fridge and everything else. So each individual has a different way of experiencing these, you're right. So start with recognizing where you are in your hunger spectrum. And obviously, if you are hungry, making sure that you do eat. I think that is my number one strategy to start preventing emotional eating or binge eating, is always checking in whether you are hungry and eating regularly according to your hunger. So this is not according to what the health guru said about eating 4 meals a day and snacks, or, you know, eating 3 meals a day and whatever. This is according to what your body tells you when it's hungry and when it needs food, kind of scenario. So that's always number one. Number two is when you recognize that there is this emotional components. I have a method, my signature method, the STOP method. And that's basically just telling yourself, first of all, S is for slow down. So tell yourself, hey, Estelle, just slow down. Like, because your brain will be constantly telling you, I need that sugar, I need that carbohydrate to feel better. There's feeling overwhelmed, I need to eat. Whatever it's telling you. I've heard so many stories, and I've heard so many of my own stories. And the minute you just firmly say slow down, you're putting a bit of space in between what's happening in the mind and just quietening that down a little bit. And then second is take a deep breath. T, take a deep breath. So just taking 3 really deep breaths brings you back into the present moment, but it also calms down your nervous system. And often the nervous system is what fuels the cravings or the urge. So 3 really deep inhales and longer exhales, so that you just bring yourself into a space of calmness. And often that's all you need to do, but obviously, if you stop it there, you're almost ignoring the trigger, and you're kind of nipping it in the bud. But you'll find yourself craving again a couple of hours later because you haven't really dealt with what was really triggering that in the first place. So then we move into O for observe. So just sitting back and going, okay, what's really going on for me right now? And that could be like, oh my gosh, I'm having such a stressful day. I have so many deadlines. I haven't gotten up from my desk once. Not like I had to run to the bathroom to pee and I ran back. And like, there's just been no space for me to just even, breathe. No wonder I need something to eat, or feeling like I need sugar, because my whole body is just exhausted. My brain is exhausted from all this pressure. Or, it could be like any emotion really that comes up, or any physical feeling. So it could be like, oh my gosh, like my shoulder is actually so tight. I've been so stiff and my neck's so sore. Okay, and that's like realizing that your body is kind of telling you hey, I need a little bit of a break here, or I need a little bit of a comfort because I'm in pain. And that's like the brain immediately goes, oh, well, I know what will make you feel better, some sugar or some whatever you go to for comfort. So whether that's a saltiness or whatever the case is. So really delving into observing and checking in with what's going on for you. And then P is process. So again, just taking action to nourish what came up for you in the observe phase. So if you felt like you were tired, then make sure that you get up, do some movement, or do something that's going to make you feel refreshed, whatever that is for you. Sometimes if you can afford a nap and a nap does that for you, then go and do that, because that's the only way we can reset ourselves into a normal state, where we don't have these triggers, where we don't have these overwhelming feelings. And that's where we're not going to reach out for food in the first place. Yeah, so
Definitely.
The eating is more of a symptom. It's never a cause of anything. So
definitely.
always keep that in mind.
And we've been taught so well to do anything we can to distract ourselves from feeling anything. Like you said, we've got food, or we've got TV or phones or alcohol or drugs or anything just to get that instant gratification rather than actually deal with the problem. So no, that was really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So, and that's the hardest thing, is leading into emotion instead of, running away. Running away from it is always more, it's a lot easier. But if we don't deal with what's going on, it will build up and it will build up, and eventually the pot will like overflow. And
that's it. There's only so many times you can squash down this emotion until it's going to come out somewhere.
Yeah, and that could be like anger outbursts, or every person handles this differently. Or some people start binge eating, other people lean towards, as you said, drugs or alcohol, or binge watching Netflix. Nothing wrong with watching telly, but if you're using that to distract yourself or feel better, then it's an avoidance tool. Yeah,
definitely. I think I like what you say, and I like your whole philosophy about doing things, but doing things mindfully. So if you're going to spend afternoon binge watching Netflix, do it, but do it mindfully. Do it because you want to. And I'm sure that you'd agree that there's nothing particularly wrong with overeating as long as it's mindful.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, and that's another thing, like often we come from a space where we are so rushed during the day, we eat in a stressed state. So you walk out the house with whatever, your breakfast wrap in your hand, you shove it down your throat within 5 minutes. By the time you get in the car, or like 10 minutes later, you're hungry again, or you feel like you need some sugar to pick you up, or caffeine, because your body didn't feel satisfied with what it ate. It didn't even get time to register that, I'm eating right now. Also, obviously you didn't chew things properly, so things are not being digested and absorbed the way it should. So it's pretty much just going in and passing out. It's a waste.
Yeah, definitely.
So bringing in that mindfulness, I know, is hard, because again, that means you have to sit quietly with yourself and with your food. And people call that boring, but that is when you can
bored.
I know. But you can make it exciting, if you have to sit there and make it like it's a special meal, like it's a date, or it's something like a treat meal, even though it's just your breakfast cereal, and you really just take in your senses. It's all about having a sensory experience. Mindful eating is not just about, I'm eating carrots mindfully. It's more about really sitting there and chewing it properly. Also making sure that you take in what's happening around you. Often we're so busy in our heads that we're not in our bodies when we eat. We're over there.
Yeah, I love the idea of eating food like a date. I like that, because when you're on a date, you suck in all the, all of the sights and sounds and smells and
Yeah,
everything.
and
You don't
you
just
want it to
wolf it
last
down and
forever. Yeah, you
yeah,
want it to last
exactly.
forever.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that. I'm going to use that at some point. I'm not sure when, but I'm definitely going to use that. So do you think that because I know that overeating is, especially emotional overeating, is quite prevalent in the dieting industry. Do you think that's a lot to do with people eating to rules or eating or restricting themselves and not allowing themselves to eat when they want to?
Absolutely. So this is where my realm actually sits a lot, where people have come from a hectic fitness background, or just, trying to control their eating by restricting food. So that's in any form, whether you have reduced your calories to, I don't know, the new 800 calorie diet, or the celery and cucumber soup diet, or whatever, or counting macros, even counting that, they call it flexible eating, but you are still obsessing over the rules around how much protein and like all those things and how many calories, and it becomes like a complete obsession about what you can and can't have. And what you've done is you've said, I mean, like, you can only have that much, or you can't have sugar, or you can't have dairy, or whatever whatever plan you're following. And what that does in our survival instinct brain, that lower rhythm brain, is goes, food is limited, I am being threatened. But this primitive brain also goes, you don't tell me what to do. If you put rules around things, then it's going to stomp its feet and go, I want that donut. Like,
yeah, essentially we're all childish cavemen with smartphones.
Correct. Yeah. So the minute we start putting so many rules and restrict the food, like, mentally, we actually start like wanting it more. And like, definitely, if you ask the people who binge, what are the foods they binge on? It's the stuff that they don't allow themselves to have. It's the stuff that they've cut out. And that's where the relationship with food becomes unhealthy or unbalanced, because you've put so many rules on food when food is supposed to nourish us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And we've just recently saw restriction play out to its maximum with toilet roll and flour. Who knew that people needed so much toilet roll until we got told that we couldn't have it anymore? It's really interesting psychology.
Yeah, definitely. And that is a perfect example where everyone just started buying food in case something happened. Everyone stockpiled. They went and bought massive refrigerators and freezer systems so that they could buy more food. Our shelves were empty. And that was all because there was a threat in the air. And the first thing we went was like, oh, well, we need to survive. Food is going to be the same. So that's exactly what our thinking is when we go on a diet. The first thing you think about is what I can't have. And you'll start daydreaming about what you can't have. And eventually, like, that's where it goes. That's where you'll be like, that those foods will be your comfort foods, because it's now all of a sudden a treat or a forbidden something that you can maybe have on a Sunday.
I read a really interesting study that they did with kids that they picked food and told kids that they couldn't have it. And the food that they told the kids that they couldn't have, the kids immediately assumed that it was going to be delicious food because they were told that they couldn't have it, even if it was a carrot. As soon as they got told that, they assumed it would be delicious and wanted it even more. I need to find that study because it was really interesting.
Oh, please share that with me, because that sounds amazing.
I'll find it and I'll stick it in the comments of this.
All of a sudden, because even if it's not delicious, it's still that sense of it's forbidden, and there's that kind of that thrill behind having it. Yeah,
definitely. It's the psychology of don't push the button. All you want to do is push that button. Yeah, well, this has been really, really interesting chatting, and hopefully we can do it more. But in the meantime, where can anybody find you or get more information about the things that you've been chatting about? How can we get more?
Excellent. Beautiful. So you can find me on Instagram, Wholesome Lifestyle Project, or I'm on Facebook, Estelle Heath. You can reach out to me there. But I also have a little free gift for everyone who's listening or who's interested.
Nice.
It's my new Quit Binge Eating Guide. So even though it says binge eating, it's kind of relates to any form of overeating, and it will be helpful for any of those. So I'll pass on the links and we'll pop it in the comments.
Amazing. Yeah, and I will definitely put all of your links to all of your socials in the comments. And yeah, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to reading that because I'm sure that there's a lot of really good advice in there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, thank you for coming on. Like I said, it's a part of dieting and eating that, because I've had no personal experience with, it's not my wheelhouse. So talking to somebody that is an expert in it has been really useful. And yeah, hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time, Estelle.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.